Friends, today we will devote our presentation to the Blessed Virgin Mary, who was assumed into heaven and crowned as Queen of heaven and earth. The Church just recently celebrated the solemnity of the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary and marveled at her who was blessed among women and whose soul proclaimed the greatness of the Lord. If you recall, there are 4 Marian dogmas. We already introduced them some time ago. One of the Marian dogmas is on the Assumption. On November 1st, 1950, Pope Pius XII defined it this way: the Immaculate Mother of God, the ever-Virgin Mary, having completed the course of her earthly life, was assumed body and soul into heavenly glory. This belief in the Assumption has been long-standing in the Church. In fact, in his Apostolic Constitution, Munificentissimus Deus, the Holy Father traced this tradition back to Christian liturgies and saintly figures, from St. John Damascene to St. Francis de Sales, who argued, "What son would not bring his mother back to life and would not bring her into paradise after her death if he could?" According to the Pope, these considerations of the Church Fathers, doctors, and theologians were rooted in the sacred Scriptures. You might say, "Cardinal Chito, where can we find a scriptural reference for it? The Gospels say very little about Mary, and the word Assumption does not even occur in the Gospels." Well, my friends, the psalmist points to this truth prophetically. "Arise, O Lord, into your resting place, you and the ark which you have sanctified." We know who the Lord is. It is Jesus. But who was his ark? No less than the Virgin Mary, his mother, in whose womb he dwelt, whose blood ran in his veins, whose flesh was his own. Mary was the tabernacle of the Word made flesh. Let us go back to that moment when the angel Gabriel proclaimed, "You have found favor with God, and behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall call his name Jesus." But we know that this grace, this favor she found with God, started with her Immaculate Conception. God has chosen her before all the ages for a mission, and preserved her from any stain of sin from the moment of her conception. This unique privilege merited for her an exemption from corruption of the grave and advanced her to the redemption of her body, assumed into heaven to be with her Son in God's presence. Now, in 1954, the first Marian year in the Church's history, Pope Pius XII established the feast of the Queenship of Mary, and this coming Thursday we shall observe it. According to his encyclical Ad Caeli Reginam, this liturgical feast will afford a climax to the manifold demonstrations of our devotion to Mary. The greeting of Gabriel that foretold the everlasting reign of Mary's Son, and Elizabeth's prophetic cry, "The Mother of my Lord," led us to acknowledge in Mary a certain eminence and exalted station from the royal dignity of her Son. The Pope added that by acknowledging Mary as Mother of Christ, we readily acknowledge the supreme royal dignity of Mary as the Mother of God. Now, still some people would ask, is this enough to claim her as Queen? Let us look at the answer of Saint Alphonsus Liguori. Because the Virgin Mary was raised to such a lofty dignity as to be the Mother of the King of Kings, it is deservedly and by every right that the Church has honored her with the title of Queen. It was her absolute right as Mother. There you go, my brothers and sisters. We hope we were able to help you understand better the reasons behind these two Marian celebrations. Let us learn from the Blessed Mother. She opened herself totally to God all her life. No one could ever imagine what God prepared for those who follow and love Him. O Mother and Queen assumed into heaven, pray for us that we may be like you, always pleasing in the eyes of God.